Did you do it again?
Anyway, if you've been listening, loyal listeners, this is the Ludic Loungecast. I, of course, am Antonicus Maximus, Anthony to my friends. With me, as always, is John. But we have a special treat for you all.
That's right, we do. Anthony, would you like to welcome in our guest?
I would love to. We welcome in friend of the show, friend of ours for a very long time, Robin.
Hello.
Snaps.
I'll snap for myself.
Snaps. I don't know. Whatever.
I'm just getting drama class flashbacks now, Anthony.
Stop it. I don't want to talk about drama class.
No, we're going to talk about it.
Snapping?
No, our shitty high school drama teacher who made me not like acting anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm going to say snapping is like half of my job.
Snap and clap.
Like literal snapping or snapping at people?
Yeah, when you're in like a teacher meeting, if you agree with someone, you're supposed to go like this, like shake your hand back and forth or snap.
Is this how it is now on Zoom calls? That's what they require you to do or something?
That was already the standard before Zoom calls. It's like constant poetry slam, except we argue about education instead.
Oh, I mean, I'll take that. I mean, do they come with like, is there like a starter kit? Do they come with like a beret?
I don't agree with the way we teach math.
The starter kit is Kool-Aid.
John, don't be rude and run over Robin, please.
I'm so sorry. I saw it coming and I had no brakes. I have no brakes.
That's okay. It sounds like my Friday night. And speaking of Friday nights, many a Friday night was spent with our friend Robin. A little background on Robin and our relationship. Robin and John and I were friends all the way back to junior college, in which we all attended a shitty junior college in our shitty hometown.
Yeah.
Is that pretty accurate, guys? Would you call it as that? Yeah. Excellent.
Pretty much. Yeah, I don't miss that place.
No, not really. God, no. Well, I miss some things about that place, like the Carl's Jr.
A lot of things about that place. Wait, sorry, Carl's Jr. what?
The Carl's Jr. on campus, you know, that little one.
Oh my God.
I had many a memory.
I remember sitting out in like that food court just reading, like in between classes. It's that's where I remember falling in love with Grant Morrison stuff in that that cafeteria, because that's where I was reading like some of his stuff for the first time. I read Night by Eli Wiesel there too.
God, that's depressing.
And I didn't even need to get that book. I thought I needed it for a class, and I just got it, and then it turned out I didn't need it. So I was just like, oh, well, I'll just read it, and I read it in the afternoon.
In one afternoon?
Yeah, it's not that long of a book.
Jesus, you're a beast, man.
Gotta get your kicks in somehow, right? No, not that it's about kicks.
Okay, first of all, you're comparing getting your kicks to Night, which are...
Yeah, I know. That was
awful.
That was a dumb part on my half.
Speaking of dumb parts on your half, John, what are we doing today?
Well, we're doing our usual breakdown. We're going to talk about everything that we're watching, listening, playing. We're going to get in deep. We're going to talk about anything and everything that comes to our mind. So, Robin, would you like to introduce some stuff?
I actually have a book sitting right here with me.
Ooh, books. Ooh. We like books.
Books. Called Freshwater. I cannot pronounce this incredibly beautiful Igbo name. I think it's Akwaeke Emezi. But it's not like anything I've ever read. The first maybe 50 pages, I thought I hated it. And then it suddenly jumped into this like neurodivergent understanding of the different parts of your brain and like how you reject certain ideas and sort of become a different part of yourself so that you don't have to deal with it.
Interesting.
I don't know that I can even fully explain it. It's about like snakes that live inside of this little girl.
Oh shit!
Oh
really
wow!
good.
Okay, I thought this was like a adult psychology book. No, it's about snakes living in people's brains.
It is an adult psychology book, and it's also fiction, and it's also horror, and it's also LGBTQ fiction and Black fiction, and like it just is everything. It's incredible. It's like a mental health book as well. I don't know.
So the Venn diagram is a very big Venn diagram.
Yes, many circles.
I mean, I appreciate it.
Why is it called a Venn diagram?
Because the guy who made it was probably called Venn.
It was. His name was Venn. Something Venn.
Okay, just checking. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail it. I've always wondered why. And of course, I don't have this beautiful Google machine or anything that I could search that. I have to bring it up when we're doing a live recording of a podcast, obviously.
I mean, it keeps it entertaining.
Plus, John,
I'm an
you
English
missed a
teacher,
joke.
so I had it for you.
Oh, well, thank you. Plus, you missed the joke of snakes. You hate snakes, John. I was waiting for you to pull that. I really was.
It's fictional snakes. I don't need to be afraid of fictional snakes because I know they're fake. If it's a real snake, then it's a different story, and then I will politely piss myself. But, yeah, politely, and, out of respect for the snake.
May I piss myself?
And the snake has this old-timey English accent. Oh, indubitably, sir. I will allow you this before I make you dead.
Why is that the chosen accent?
I don't know. I just figure anything bad has to come out of an old-timey voice.
I also hate snakes.
Yeah, they're the fucking worst.
But were you going for like pencil thin mustache, the snake it doesn't have
like Snidely Whiplash?
Yeah, it's like Snidely Whiplash. I'm glad you dropped the name because I was going to butcher it, obviously. Like, yes, I'm going to drop you on this train tracks, John.
Indeed.
He'd call you Johnny. I'm pretty sure he'd call you John. No, he'd call you Jonathan because he's a sophisticated evil snake, obviously.
I had somebody call me that at work.
Jonathan?
Yeah. It's like a professional call, and he says, my full name apparently is Jonathan Soares, which I couldn't really correct because then I'd look like a jackass in my head, so I just went with it. I mean, that's why my handle is just John, because nobody believes me.
Oh, man, you stand your ground and say, no, it's John.
Right. How do you think I got people to start calling me a middle name?
That is true.
You just have to be an asshole.
I was going to go with badass, but if you want to go with asshole, okay.
Bad asshole. There we go. I fixed it.
Asshole? Ugh.
Bad asshole.
Ugh.
No?
Ugh.
Honestly, it sounds like a bad Johnny Knoxville movie from like the early 2000s.
Oh, okay. You went with Johnny Knoxville Jackass. I was going for, pornographic cinema. But, that
Jesus
works.
Christ.
No. But I understand your confusion.
Anyway, moving on from Anthony's bad jokes.
Hey.
Robin, what is the most fascinating thing about this book so far that you've found that has been like the most challenging part of it to you? I guess that's too
challenging or the most fascinating, because those are
both.
Both. Okay.
Yes.
I think the most fascinating thing about it, and I finished it the other day, but it's one of those books that you have to think about for like 5 days before you understand it fully. I think that the most fascinating thing was that it completely developed into different ideas as I moved through it. I didn't know what it was about. Like, I learned more what it was about every chapter rather than like understanding the plot and the ideas initially. And the most challenging thing, like I said, was that like it's entirely in metaphor, which is totally cool with me. I studied creative writing. I'm an English teacher, whatever. But the metaphor was like so dense and had so many different parts that I didn't understand who the characters even were until page 50, maybe.
You talking about that reminded me of something I read a couple years back, and I need to reread it because the trilogy just wrapped. Have you read the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin?
Mm-mm.
Okay, she's a prolific sci-fi writer. She's won, I think, the Hugo, which is like the Oscar equivalent for sci-fi fantasy. She won it like 3 times in a row. The Broken Earth trilogy, the first book does something similar to what you're talking about, where you're not really sure who you're exactly following, and then when you find there's a big revelation about the truth of the characters you're dealing with, and it completely unends everything that you had read up to that point.
Right.
And she, as an African American writer, she also is, warming in all of the things that an African American has to deal with, just doing it in the fantasy, shell that she has it. So,
no, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was transitioning back to you.
No, you're totally fine. That's kind of how Freshwater is, and the first few chapters. So they speak about the character that they live in as if she's like this oracle, and they refer to themselves as we. And so this entire time you think that there's like literally parasites inside of this woman.
Oh.
But then you find that they're actually like her different ways of dissociating. Like one of them came from, trigger warning, sexual trauma, and then others came from like growing up Black in America, and so on and so on. And so that's how it sort of develops and turns into something completely different thematically.
So when was the switch where you're like, oh, this fucking blows, to like, whoa, this might be something here?
I think literally, I think page 56, which is just where I just so happened to open it up to.
That's awesome then.
And is that the point where it felt like you were getting more answers than you had questions, or was it just it finally the hook of the book got you at that point?
I think that as someone with more and more intensifying ADHD, it was simply that I couldn't pay attention because nothing was connecting. And then all of a sudden I understood it and then I was hooked.
Yeah, no, I know the feeling. Fun fact, I found out I'm ADHD too.
Woo!
I don't think I can join that club. I'm just superly depressed. That's the only thing I got going for me.
Depression comes with ADHD and we're all in the same boat.
Yeah, no, she's not wrong.
Is it the same boat or is it the same storm?
Both. Why not both?
Tugboat tugging the boat. Though I don't know who would be in the head boat. So
toy boat, tugboat.
Tugboat.
I'll go tugboat.
Tugboat.
Or wait,
both,
is a tugboat a toy boat?
I don't know. I just thought of the say toy boat 5 times fast before you fuck it up. So it just got me.
Understood.
And speaking of things that just get me.
Yes, Anthony.
Transition.
I
don't have a good transition.
I don't have a great transition either.
But when Robin was talking to us about Freshwater, the only thing that was coming to mind that I have read that maybe has a similar path is like Catcher in the Rye. But I didn't really like Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, that's one of the books where everyone says you're supposed to relate to it on some kind of level when you're a teen, right?
Yes.
That's my recollection of it.
Allegedly.
Yes. I think when did you read it, Anthony?
Oh God. Junior in high school, so 16, 17.
Robin, did you ever read that book?
Oh yes.
Okay.
But I heard you should relate to it as a teenager at like 11 and was like, oh, okay, I'm reading this immediately. So
That's fair.
I know that feeling because I would do that shit when I was 11. I read it like post college, so like I got none of any of the things that they were saying you should get out of it. I just saw a little snot-nosed jackass.
Yeah. I've taught that book a handful of times, and that is my reaction now. But also, like, teenagers are snot-nosed brats, so.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Boy, teenagers. And I thought of that book because not only did I not like it, but it just reminded me of how manic that book was. Yeah. And I remember, because I think up to that point, all I was really reading was like Lord of the Rings, like epic high fantasy, I think. And then reading this, I'm like, oh, Jesus, what? There's like 17 sentences in this one sentence smashing together. My brain cannot understand this concept.
Okay, You're sparking some things in my head. Let's talk about books that we just absolutely hated. Because like I can think of like 2 off the top of my head. One is the American Psycho novel.
Oh, does it suck?
Oh God, it is an abomination. It is an absolute abomination written by an asshole of a human being who is really, really working out his own personal frustrations with his own sexuality and his own politics on the page. And not in a good way, because it's just violent but the movie's just as violent, but I feel like because there's 2 women behind the helm of that movie, both as the director, one in Mary Herron in the director's seat and Guinevere Turner as the writer. They're getting at something else than what Ellis is doing, because like Bret Easton Ellis is a notorious just troll. He just likes to mess with people, and I think part of that book is him messing with people, but also just working out all of his baggage. But it's not like he gets nothing out of it. It's just venting. So
first things first, John, holy shit, did you just throw your big dick down as far as remembering all of that? Like directors and creators and like I'm sitting there like, how the fuck are you just literally the human IMDb? Is that all you are? The walking IMDb?
What's weird is that my fiance asked me that same question last night.
Of course.
Because I connected. Yeah, I know. It always is. That's because you're also my other spouse.
That's fair.
It is fair.
I call top bunk.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Sorry. Sorry. Continue. No. But I understand your confusion, and please continue.
Robin, I'm sorry. It is always this chaotic.
I mean,
We established that there's ADHD involved. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
I'm just trying to imagine a world in which spouses use bunk beds.
I'll tell you where. I'll tell you where. It's a Columbo episode.
Actually, yes, but I'm using more for like a metaphor for our sexual positions, identities. So when I call top bunk, I was saying that I'm the top, obviously.
Oh,
you brought one queer person into the room, and they don't understand what you're talking about as far as tops and bottoms go.
You had one job, Anthony. You had one job. Make it simple.
I know.
You didn't make it simple.
I didn't. I convoluted everything as always, and I derailed this entire segment as we were talking so majestically on books that we fucking hate. I know. I apologize.
Yeah. American Psycho is like one of the top ones for me. Also, Clockwork Orange. I hate that book. I hate it.
No one can see this, but I just got really wide anger eyes. Why do you hate that?
I think it was for the same reasons I didn't care for like Catcher in the Rye. It just like I knew these characters were supposed to be teens, and I know it's a dystopia. I know it's supposed to be the world has gotten violent, and it's a reflection on how our world is inherently violent. I just like maybe it was just my own biases at the time, thinking no one is this fucked up. Like there's no amount of like trauma that would justify something in somebody's head to, I'm going to just be a horrible asshole and borderline murder and destroy people just because I can. So I feel like I need to revisit it, but it's just, I had such a lousy taste in my mouth, and it was like bitter medicine going through the whole damn thing. And it just doesn't feel like something I feel like there are better ways to get the message across that book wants to do in other ways in a little bit more elegant fashion.
So, John, what you're trying to say is aren't you glad you don't have to read that book again?
Oh, my God.
Oh, God. Thank you, Robin, for joining me in the existential sigh.
No, fuck you. She liked that.
Let her speak for herself.
I did I haven't spoken. I haven't heard your voices and reciprocated my own voice in 10 years. So I am thoroughly enjoying it just for the experience of being able to speak to you guys again. But also really, Anthony.
Is that the inner teacher in you saying you're smarter than that? Come on.
Listen, if this was a classroom, she would already kick my ass out of here.
No, the loud kids are my favorite kids.
Really?
My classroom is not a space that you have seen before. It's insanity in there.
That sounds like fun, though. Honestly.
It is.
I know a lot of teachers. God damn it. I'm sorry, Robin. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
No, you're fine. I said my students dance while they're writing and doing their work in my classroom. And I'm 100% okay with it. And
it helps them get through their work. And this is expanding the energy, right? Or something.
Right. I'm a special education teacher, so it's a room full of kids with a lot of energy or a lot of anxieties about their disabilities. Mm-hmm. So moving around a lot is beneficial for whoever you are when you're in my classroom.
Well, not only for that, but again, this is where I kind of throw in my own professionalism slightly. It also lets the children know, the kids know that they can express themselves and they can actually be themselves in any given setting, in which a lot of times parents, society, and other societal structures, I should say, don't allow children, kids, teens, whatever have you, actually get to express that. They have to throw them in this confined box. And by someone special, which is why I am super glad you said that, Robin, by someone special actually allowing these children to express themselves and to be themselves, to try on these different hats to see if they fit, and without the judgment of a higher authoritarian figure. That's fantastic.
Why, thank you. I don't know if the message comes across that eloquently with the flag in my room that says "Let your freak flag fly," but
that's the fun way to say that, though. That's the fun way to get that point across.
Exactly. Instead of my fucking droll I just spilled out here.
It was not droll.
Oh, it was droll. I was like, excuse me.
You did what you always
humble
praise me
opinion.
for, jerk.
What?
Let us pray where I come up with something off the cuff and it sounds nice, and you're like, as John so eloquently put, it's just like, asshole, you put it eloquently too. Take your props.
No, I refuse.
I'm going to go over there and smack you with love.
Ooh.
Damn it, he's too excited.
Don't promise me a good time, big boy.
Now he's never going to go to sleep.
Never.
I have defenses for Clockwork Orange.
Okay, let's hear it.
True defenses. First and foremost, it was really badly translated. So
okay.
There's that. And also, when you look at like what's happening in the world today,
Yeah.
there has been a whole lot of thwarting of like the most evil parts of people, and people were doing those evil things. They just weren't so flippant and obvious and like public.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I had that thought in my head when I was talking about it. It's like, wait a minute, they're fucking doing that now. Why am I saying this book is shit? It's literally reflecting what's happening.
I mean, no, I hear you. It's crass as hell. Even when I was a
Yeah.
teenager, I was like, oh my gosh. Wow.
I do declare the vapors, the orange vapors.
John, how
That doesn't
long ago
work.
did you read that book?
Sorry?
How long ago did you read Clockwork Orange?
I think my memory is hazy, but I think it was either like beginning of college or like senior year of high school, one of the two.
Okay,
I'm
so
leaning
like
more
5 to 7 years.
more like 7. It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Well, if you think about how much you have personally grown in 7 years, right, and how much your perceptions have changed, and then you think on it from a greater societal point, I can kind of see where 7 years ago you might think and have those thoughts about the book.
Yeah. Now it's
However, you're still wrong, obviously.
Yeah, I am.
No
Someone
gold
came
star.
here to say that I'm right and John's wrong.
Well,
Ben?
obviously, we should just
Anthony.
take John's gold star away from him, make him pull a card. What other teacher metaphors can I use? They took away the dunce cap, obviously, so we can't do that.
There's a flag on the plate. Does that work?
But that's not a teacher. Well, I guess a gym teacher metaphor.
Aha. I found a way.
Found a
You
way.
found a loophole.
That's lawyer shit right there.
Lawyered. Oh gosh. Books that we hate. I mentioned Catcher in the Rye.
Yes.
I am not so keen on iRobot. I think that
Interesting.
it's fine, but a lot of the times it's built up as this great epic science fiction pillar.
Yeah.
And obviously that's overhyped it, and it's just a fine novel.
I mean, you could also say that about Foundation.
I didn't want to touch Foundation, but since you brought it up, yeah, fuck Foundation.
Fuck Foundation. You're just talking about the problem with like hard sci-fi in general and how it tends to just amplify or put on pedestals these old white dudes who, define the genre, sure, but it's not theirs anymore.
That is also very true.
That's why I like with iRobot, like I read that, like the Will Smith movie is like nothing compared to what those books are. I mean, iRobot, the book, is just like a set of interconnected short stories just to set up that world, and then he does generic ass murder mysteries afterwards. But the detective has a robot partner. That's it. And yet he's touted as the fucking genius of sci-fi. No, fuck that. Gropist ass mutton chop asshole.
Ooh, I also, speaking of assholes, I'm going to be a total asshole and throw a really hot take into the meeting here today.
Oh, boy.
Our podcast.
Robin, we got a hot take.
Give us the take.
I was not a huge fan of Harry Potter.
Huh. Fair.
Is it?
I mean,
It's not fair, John. Like I said, that's why I know I'm being an asshole.
well, I only say that because I didn't get Potter at first. It took
My
me
question. Oh, go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry,
you go.
finish. My question for everyone when they say that they don't like Harry Potter is, what age were you when you started reading it?
I was around the same age as Harry in the first book.
So 11.
Yeah, 11. And then as I grew up, I read, I aged with the books, if you will.
Okay.
As most of our generation has.
I will say that I have not done a reread of the books, but I do understand, because my wife obviously loves the series, and she, we've been to the the Harry Potter World in Orlando. We were in Florida that one time. And obviously, so I love it because I love her and I love her interests. So from that aspect, I appreciate and love it. But if I were to sit there and say, damn, I really want to read Harry Potter, I would really question myself.
Second question then would be, did you love reading prior to 11 years old?
Yes.
Okay. Because for the life of the Harry Potter folks, I think that all of our stories is that we read it and it made us readers. So I think I read it right when it came out, which I think it was 7 years old or something like that.
Right.
And it was the first time that I had read a book that was 400 pages. And I read it in 2 days and never wanted to stop reading it because I was a child, and the simplicity of magic that felt like Christmas.
Yeah. That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to describe it. Yeah.
And your story is similar to my fiance's, because that's how she got her interest in reading. She's not as frequent as a reader as she would like, but she learned how to read through Harry Potter. Her mom would read her the story, but would only get through the first chapter every single time. And she honestly got frustrated because her mom didn't keep going. So she just read the damn book herself. And then it was off to the races from there. I only say fair to you, Anthony, because I wasn't part of it. I didn't see the appeal at first. I was an Animorphs kid. So I was in that neck of the Scholastic Book Fair than the Potter Fair.
That's fair. I think it's maybe because I was reading a lot of the Shannara Chronicles at around 10 years old, or however old I was when the books first came out. So I was already reading fantasy. And I appreciated Harry Potter for what it was, the simplicity of, like Robin just mentioned. But overall, I'm it's not my favorite fantasy out there. So, and while we're on the topic of stuff I hate, obviously, I'm going to just take over the podcast. Pet Sematary ruined Stephen King for me.
It just, because of the concept of the Pet Sematary itself?
Well, I was already, I read a couple of Stephen King books. I never read it and still haven't, and I'm glad I haven't because of what happens in it for no fucking reason. But I read... oh gosh, I can't remember which ones, but I read a couple of them. Oh, this is fine. And then I read Pet Sematary, and it ruined it for me. It was just, not only was it awfully written in my opinion, but I also believe that it's the concept of it as well just ruined it. And after I read that, I was I think I'm just done with Stephen King. Mm-hmm. And I tried reading Gunslinger because, everyone, and you, John, has spoken highly of it.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm I read the first Gunslinger, and I'm yeah, this is why I don't like Stephen King.
Yeah, it's Dark Tower is complicated, and it's just complicated. Dark Tower is a whole nother topic. I'm not going to jump into it because that's just going to leave us into the weeds.
As someone who loves horror and loves literature, I fucking hate Stephen King. I love Stephen King movies. I really, truly do.
Yes, I agree.
But I just can't. I don't know what it is. I read The Shining because The Shining was my favorite movie when I was really little. Mm-hmm. Thinking that I was going to love it, and I couldn't even finish it, and then never opened anything else that he read or that he wrote.
John, I'm signaling for you to do your Jack impression of Here's Johnny. But obviously you didn't pick
Johnny.
It up. There we go. Thank you.
I don't. My Jack's not that great, man. Snaps. My Nicholson's not a good one.
Give it a go. Besides, Here's Johnny. Just give it a go. Do like 89 Batman dialogue or monologue.
Jack is dead. Call me Joker. As you can see, I'm a lot happier. And see, I told it. It doesn't feel right to me, and I like doing Joker as Jack is just. I can't get into that headspace of a already weird dude and Jack Nicholson playing an even weirder dude as a Joker.
Okay, fine. Then do the true Joker and just do Cesar Romero.
Yes, Batman. Yes. Ooh. I do that just for Anthony.
Yes, just tickle me. Tickle me with all of your Adam West Batman impressions. You know which one I'm talking about. I don't know why your Frank Gorshin just tickles me.
Riddle me this, Batman. What does a liar do when he's dead? He lies still.
I am deceased.
Robin, I'm sorry. This is what it's deformed to.
Is there an opposite of deform? Reform?
Yeah, we can make fun of Stephen King again.
I do want to go to his house. Have you guys seen pictures of his house?
I have not. Tell me about it.
It's in Maine, right?
Of course it is.
In Maine, yes. It looks like Tim Burton. It just looks like Tim Burton designed a home.
Is that a good thing or bad thing that you're...
For me, it's a good thing, because the weirder, the creepier, the better, especially if it's in the Northeast. But
okay, got it. Because you said, it's like Tim Burton designed it. I'm like, I fucking hate Tim Burton.
I don't like Tim Burton, but a Tim Burton house would be pretty sick.
I mean, it's the aesthetic that matters, not the person.
That's mainly the reason why I hate Tim Burton is his aesthetic, except for 89 Batman. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's because of Anton first.
I get into this fight a lot with my wife because she likes a lot of Burton, especially like Nightmare Before Christmas. And it's one of those things where she's like, how do you not like it? I'm like, it's just fucking weird. I'm just not into it. It doesn't tickle like a horror thing for me. It doesn't tickle like either be horror or be fucking family comedy. Like pick one.
I'm with you. That's so. I actually think that Nightmare Before Christmas is like the most overrated movie ever made.
Thank you. Yeah. Robin's in my fucking corner, John. Fuck off.
I mean, I've only like just seen the movie in like the last like 2 years, but
oh really?
Yeah, no, I like my Tim Burton experience just limits itself to Batman and Batman Returns, and that's about it.
Is this where you guys just stop? If you're a Batman fan, you just stop all Tim Burton?
I mean, no, that's not necessarily the case, but that's like where my primary interest is for the most part with him. I mean, I've seen like Alice in Wonderland is a bad example, but I have seen that, and that's not a good movie. How did that movie make as much money as it did? I will never know. But I've seen
Burtonites, John. That's what it is.
They're there. They're out there in their striped tights.
Do they all dress like Gerard Way?
Yes.
Hey, don't knock Gerard Way. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
I guess the way I picture this, like the reason that I love this house is that I picture being a child in whatever weird town in Maine he lives in and like walking past that house and having no idea what's happening there.
And
just thinking it's like that one house from the Sandlot where it's just like, oh, people got murdered in there.
Yeah, except Curly.
To Kill a Mockingbird, but to each their own.
I mean, I just go with the first thing that pops in my head. You know this.
That's accurate.
Yeah. Accurate. To get back on topic, Robin, what books do you hate?
Okay. I don't know the perspectives and the positions of people in this group, so I'm coming in scared, but
scared of us?
Annihilation, the series by Jeff Vandermeer, horrible.
Oh, dude, yeah, I tried reading it. I couldn't make it past the first 100 pages.
Is it Vandermeer? And now I'm afraid that I said it differently.
No, it's Vandermeer.
It is Vandermeer. I hate him. But I actually hadn't heard of the series, and then I watched Annihilation, loved it.
Same.
And then read it and was so disappointed. It was like written like YA. But not good YA. I don't know. It was.
It's tricky to. It's the format of his writing and how the way the rhythm of his writing. There's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
No, I get what Anthony's just nodding in agreement. Yes, but
Yeah, because rhythm is a dancer.
I don't know the lyrics now.
Neither do I. But I've never read it nor seen what you're talking about. So give me like the elevator pitch, what it's supposed to be, or why you like the movie versus the novel, why it sucks.
Let's let IMDb do it.
Yeah. I will pull up Annihilation. Annihilation.
No, I mean you.
Yeah.
Oh, Anthony.
The human IMDb. I'll filibuster for you, John.
That's what I'm working on.
I'll
working
just do
on
it. I truly thought that you would just have a better description.
Yeah, I thought you had that shit in your back.
No.
Motherfucker, let me tell you why. Bow.
I have like a rough memory of it in my head. It's a Natalie Portman movie. It's directed by and written by Alex Garland, who did Ex Machina and that Judge Dredd movie with Carl Urban.
Ooh, I like that movie.
Yeah, that's a good movie. But it's a sci-fi horror film with Natalie Portman, Oscar Isaac, Gina Rodriguez, Tessa Thompson. They are a group of explorers who enter this quarantined zone, I think somewhere in Canada, called the Shimmer, and then people start mutating, and weird shit happens. And it turns out, her husband is part of a group that goes in, and then they all go missing, and then he suddenly comes back, and now it's an investigation of what actually happened to him and his group, and then things get weird. And
I just wanted to add something on.
Nope, by all means, go ahead.
They don't just transform. Their cells mutate and I don't know what the scientific word is, but their cells mutate and mimic the nature around them, both the animals and the plants around them. So their bodies start to change and become plants, both inside and outside. It's beautiful as a film. As a book, not so much. And Tessa Thompson is beautiful. So
agreed.
Hard agree from everyone in this room.
This is something Robin and I very much agree on. Tessa Thompson is just great. The moment she just looks at you, you're dead.
Oh, whoa, you're dead? I mean, I appreciate a pretty person, but someone who's lethal? I don't know about that.
I'm okay with her being lethal.
Same.
So, my dearest Johnny, it sounds like you have the vapors under mentioning this beautiful human being.
Indeed, I do. I don't know why we went Southern with it, but okay.
Because anytime you mention the vapors, you have to use a Southern accent. It's like a requirement by law.
You're fanning yourself. You're there.
I always just figured it was just a Blanche reference from Golden Girls. But then again, I love the Golden Girls.
Is Blanche from the South?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I should shut up. You guys, your point still stands.
No, your point still stands, technically.
Bruh.
What kind of rebuttal was that?
It's mine. That's what matters.
That's fair.
Yeah, I didn't care for Vandermeer. It was weird. He had no art to it. It just felt just blah on the page. That's it. And I think it's just a testament to the performers and Alex Garland that they were able to get such, actual art out of that first book. I don't even know where they would, whether you could do the other two in that story. But I feel like Annihilation as a movie is good enough on its own that they don't need to do anything else with it.
Maybe it's because that when something is written so simplistically, you have to take creative liberty.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is overall is Vandermeer more like Slandermeer.
I mean, we're doing it in a critical format, so I think we're okay.
Yeah, I told you it works.
It works.
So, John, what book do you hate?
I thought we already established that.
Well, do you hate do you only hate one book?
I mean, I'm thinking. Anthony, filibuster for me. Do a dance.
I have another book I hate that I can talk about.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
You just can't tell any of my goth lit nerd friends.
Uh-oh.
It's called Ninth House.
Ninth House.
Well, first, in your defense, the first 8 houses were the best, obviously. I mean, I'm right there with you.
I didn't finish it, which I seldom say because I'm the kind of person who just like pushes through regardless of whether or not I like it. But it was truthfully excruciating. I don't even know why. It's about this woman who she's like kind of I don't know. She's like a rebel. She's like a bad person or whatever. That's how they say her.
Is she a manic pixie dream girl?
No, she's just a mess.
I'm sorry. I just can't get over. You were playing like a mime. You're like, a rebel.
Vogue.
A visual gag for our podcast audience who is enjoying it, obviously.
I just speak with my hands, and they're big, and sometimes I put them in the front. You got to leave me alone.
Sounds like my Friday night, you know what I'm saying? Hey, virtual high five to everybody in the chat.
Boom.
I'm sorry. Ninth house.
Oh, ninth house. Yeah, so this horrible person is like snatched off the street to work at this university and be a mentor to this guy because he somehow found out that she has the ability to speak to ghosts, and there's like a ghost study program or something at this university. It's really weird. I don't understand it. But basically, like, she has abilities that even people who see them don't. Like, she can communicate with them and feel them and like empathize with them. Sounds really interesting. Sounds like it's literally right up my alley, but like the alley behind my house, like it's up there sitting there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I said literally, so there we are.
You open the door to the alley and it's just there with an open coat. It's like, What are you buying?
Mm-hmm.
Come here, I've got stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, boring as hell. Again, ADHD. Maybe it's good, but I don't know because I couldn't pay attention.
No. I know that feeling. It's where it's just like, it's so bland. Your eyes kind of just unfocus and you don't really know what's happening on the page, and nothing that they're doing is catching your attention. I think there was like a month where I was just like flinging books out because it's just like I'm bored. This is not holding my attention whatsoever.
I've been doing that for the last month. I get 50 pages in and give up. That's why Freshwater won, because it had about 56 when I pushed myself a little bit. I got there finally. But
do you have a page limit for when you think a book is bad? Like for me, I always give it 100 pages. So, and it sounds like you do 50. Is that a firm?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I just look for clues as to whether or not I can force myself to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I don't enjoy something, I'll like put it on the coffee table and force myself to go back to it eventually.
Okay.
I don't know why. I think it's because I have Goodreads now, and so once I say reading, I like have too much pride to delete it from my list. I need to get to read. But
that's fair.
That might explain why my private list that I keep on myself, because I don't do Goodreads, keeps expanding.
Probably. So we have 50 pages, we have 100 pages. My governor for whether I jump into a book or not is literally just the walking IMDb himself, John. He says, "Hey, read this book, it's good." And I go, "Okay, I trust you."
Honestly, that's a good solid stance. Everything that you've suggested me over the last year has been ace.
Oh, I'm glad. I know my favorite thing is Monsters was one of the ones that hit pretty well.
So good. And were you the one that showed me Through the Woods too? Yeah,
the Emily Carroll book. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had to put out like feelers to your friends on social media. It's like, give me something scary, and I said Emily Carroll's Through the Woods, which is a graphic novel horror anthology. She just retells like old fairy tales. And it's really spooky. It's really it's one of the few things that makes my skin crawl. The final pages of that story just haunt me forever, because it's the story about the wolf, I think, if I recall correctly. Yeah. I won't go into greater depth here, but the way she draws it and is utterly spooky and just lingers in the back of your mind. Like the only other instance I have that keeps popping up in my head that literally scares me to this day is a scene from Dracula. And there's a scene where because it's an epistolary novel which means that it's just written from the perspective of journals and newspaper articles. Those are for the people who don't know what that means.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Anthony.
God, you're so kind to me. It's sort of like, this is for that stupid ass guy who doesn't understand books.
To be fair, it wasn't aimed towards you. It was hoping I would catch you if you didn't already know.
I'm appreciative because honestly, I was a little like, oh God, I'm so underread. I don't want to be that guy that's like, what does that mean? Sir, can you spare a crumb?
No bad questions. No bad questions.
I think there are some bad questions.
Yeah, probably. Would the teacher in the room agree?
I don't know. I'm actually like, I'm thinking questions that I want to ask you in regards to epistolary, because I semi know that term and I've used that term when teaching AP classes and then forgotten them because I never took an AP class.
Yeah.
But because I went to a shitty charter school that just didn't have those. But is if it's like a book of say like journal entries, or there's that one book about like, it's like pulled postcards of people's like embarrassing stories or whatever, and they just throw them all into one book. Is that also epistolary, or is it only in regards to news?
Well, looking at the official definition, epistolary is typically in the form of letters. So if you're taking it literally, you're just talking about a form, a book that is a compilation of a bunch of letters. So in that case, maybe postcards like that, if they tell the story through all those things, then yes, it's an epistolary. But it can get broader. And Dracula is a good example of that because it's journals, it's letters, it's newspaper articles. It's all of these, typical paper writings just mashed into one. So I believe that answers your question, but
yeah, it does.
So, but yeah, to bring back to the spooky, there's a scene where
spooky,
los spookies. I love that show, and I also love saying that the title of it because it's just so silly.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And there's a scene where they're describing how Dracula came across Mina, the female protagonist, and the description essentially is that he has ripped open his shirt, burst open a vein on his chest. It's literally just coming out in spurts, and he's forcing her to drink from that wound.
Ooh.
And it's one of the moments I literally had to close the book and say, I'm done for a bit, because that's going to just be burned in my head.
I don't think I love horror because I'm desensitized to horror. When I was 2 or 3, my dad showed me The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Christ.
So I like want to be there with you. I want to feel fear.
But it was taken away from you a long time ago. You have no fear.
None. Though when I grew up and was like extremely God-fearing, Exorcism of Emily Rose was terrifying.
Yeah, that was pretty spooky.
I've never seen The Exorcist.
Oh, yeah. Really? You've never seen The Exorcist?
I've read the novel. I've never seen the movie.
Oh, you need to see the movie.
That doesn't surprise me, first of all. Second of all, you need to see the fucking movie. It is a great, scary, spooky. Like, to this day, it still scares the hell out of me.
Yeah,
I mean, it's old and it's corny, and it feels campy.
Yeah.
But God, it's still so good.
So yeah, the novel is the only other book that gave me the same reaction as Dracula did to one specific scene. It's the scene that involves her with the cross.
Yeah.
That one. I won't go any farther than that, but that one just like no.
The one that always really did it for me, at least in the movie, because I didn't read the book, was her crawling down the stairs like crab style, but backwards. That ruined me.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Oh, scary as fuck. So I typically try to stay away from a lot of scary movies, etc. Not that I don't care for them. Like, I'll watch one. I'm just, for me personally, I think I've gone into this before. It's just like, life's kind of scary as it is. So I try to steer away from it. And plus, there's one time, and I don't know if I've told you, Robin, and John, I can't quite remember if I've told you either. There's one time Amanda, my wife, and I were watching a movie at a friend's house, and it was the remake of Friday the 13th, like that came out like mid 2000s. That was god awful, and wasn't scary, wasn't spooky at all. And we're watching it, and everything's fine. And then at the end, there's a jump scare that I wasn't expecting. And of course, I was sitting on the couch. My beautiful wife was laying her head in my lap, and we're just watching this movie amongst friends. And then the jump scare happens, and I go, "Oh shit!" And I jump. And when I jumped, both of my hands came down, and one of my hands just so happened to assault the beautiful face of my wife, pretty damn hard, like "Whoop-da!" Like
I feel bad for laughing, but I just remembered this story.
Yeah. And she immediately gets up and goes, "What the fuck?" Like she's
in that voice, she sounds like that.
It was pretty close. I was scared shitless. And then
she gets angry. She can get to that voice.
Oh man, yeah. It's my wife's gangster as shit. So, she gets up and is like, "What the fuck?" And I'm doing the whole like, "Oh God, I'm so sorry. Oh jeez, oh no."
You immediately shrink.
Oh God. It was the worst. Yes, in hindsight, funny, but the worst experience ever.
So good. This reminds me, when I first moved to Philly, there was this girl that I had just met. She was like my only friend in Philly. We weren't very close. She just kind of like invited me to stay in her home when I came to visit to see if I wanted to move there. And she had like never seen a horror movie or an action movie or like anything suspenseful. And she was like, "I really want to get into that." And so I sat down. I can't remember what it was. It was just something where people have like shot each other a couple of times. Think of like any blanket action movie.
Yeah.
And every time someone got shot, she would shriek and like jump onto me or jump onto my husband. Like not ironically, not as a joke, just truly terrified of gunshots.
Wow.
I did it once and never again because I could not handle just shrieking.
How is it your friend was like, "Oh yeah, I've never seen like a suspenseful movie or an action movie"? Has she not watched a movie in the last like 30 years? Because every movie just about in the past 30 years, I would argue, has one of those elements, if not all of those elements in it.
To be fair, when I first met you guys, I was living in this bubble of literally only watching indie movies. I never went to the theaters. I didn't watch television. I hated it all. And so I lived entirely on like art house. Okay. I don't think she was that way, but there are different variations of that, I guess.
That's fair.
I mean, you always hear stories about people like, I didn't grow up with a TV in my house or stuff like that. So
I did. My dad had one, but my mom is like where I mostly lived, and we didn't have cable. It was like ungodly. We weren't allowed to. So things overwhelming.
So
when
what
I started
saying is I'm a fucking asshole for judging somebody not watching a movie in the last 30 years.
No, I'm just defending like my husband still makes fun of me because anything that happened from like 2005 to like 2013 I've just never heard of, and he'll bring up some like comedy classic and I'm like, what?
Something with Will Ferrell in it.
I was going Medea. I just Robin was like, "Who the fuck's Medea? And why is she going to jail?"
I've been inundated. Like I know most of it now, but there are still some things that I'm like, what? When you guys and I were always going to the Marvel midnight showings or whatever, I loved it, but it was so weird to me to sit down in a comic book movie and like actually enjoy it, because I didn't think that I enjoyed anything that wasn't made on like a $20,000 budget.
And did you have like any frame of reference for like what the source material was or what it was trying to do? Okay.
But I learned a lot. I learned a lot that year.
That's all to John, man, because John would be like, "Hey, John, why is Iron Man punching that dude in the face?" And John's like, "Well, let me tell you something. Sit on down."
No, really, though.
No, really. And I'm saying that's not to,
I know.
you at all. I'm saying because this is like how I gain most of my comic book knowledge.
Yeah.
And movie knowledge, to be quite frank.
And it never ends with me.
John, that's why people love you, man. You like to share. You're not like a snob with it. You love to share your knowledge. You love to share your passion. And that's a trait I wish a lot of people in this world had.
Yeah, until they point out those Zack Snyder episodes.
Oh, God. Oh, God. If Zack Snyder wrote a book, I'd hate it. So that's could add to our overall theme.
No, seriously though, John, you're like the reason that I read graphic novels aside from like Daniel, whatever, the guy that wrote Ghost World.
Oh, Daniel Klaus. Yeah, I haven't seen that movie either.
Really appreciate it. Sorry, say that again.
Ghost World. I've never seen Ghost World.
Have you read Ghost World?
Yes.
Okay, you need to see Ghost World.
So little baby ScarJo, right?
It holds up.
Good. Yeah, when it comes to like the indie stuff, that's where a little bit more of I have a lot more gaps. Like the bigger stuff, like your Ghost Worlds, your Emil Ferris is with my monsters. My favorite things is monsters, and some of the more popular Image stuff. That's where I'm like gold. When it comes to the smaller stuff, I'm the dumbs.
I am also the dumbs. I have actually seen a surprisingly amount of independent films, but if I were trying to recall some, I can't, because I would watch them at like 4 a.m. when I was going through, I think it was in high school, I was going through like awful insomnia at times. Mm-hmm. And so like at 4 o'clock in the morning, the only things on were like the IFC channel would show like half decent movies and stuff like that. So I used to watch a lot of independent films on that. But John, what surprise us else on things you think that let me rephrase that. Surprise us with with things that you think we know that you know, but you actually don't have seen or read or something.
Never seen Citizen Kane.
I mean,
but that's fair for like most people. Nobody thinks about Orson Welles anymore these days, I don't think.
Okay, so Rosebud was the name of the sled. There you go. There's.
Yeah, I mean, Family Guy ruined that joke for an entire generation. So.
Ruined a lot of jokes for an entire generation.
Yeah, they just ruined things for an entire generation. There's a lot of Spielberg I haven't seen. Like I haven't seen Close Encounters.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Empire of the Sun I haven't seen, stuff like that. A lot of Kurosawa.
Like samurai movies.
Yeah, the classic, Japanese cinema stuff. It's not just the samurai stuff, but some of his more, modern drama stuff. A lot of Coen Brothers I haven't seen.
Really?
Yeah. It's like the one movie I love of theirs is No Country. Just because that was an experience just watching that, and like I think it came out when we were in high school. And I remember that's when like my movie craze kind of kicked off, because that's when it was paying attention to the Oscars and seeing what won. Now I don't even give two shits because the award means nothing. It's in a certain extent, but the more that they're actually willing to acknowledge, people that are, not white, it will get my attention again. But that's a whole different conversation that who knows if they'll ever have.
Yeah, fair enough. Speaking of things that get your attention,
yes,
John and Robin, I'd like to bring your attention to something that I have recently done, which is I have recently watched or starting to rewatch the Law and Order Criminal Intent series.
Is this because we've been watching Columbo?
That and an order that I placed on the entire series on DVD came in after like 3 months or 6 months of like in this mystery shipping thing, because when you live on an island, a lot of shit like that happens. And my wife and I watched the first couple episodes, and it actually holds up still, surprisingly enough.
So it still follows the whole Law and Order concept of ripped from the headlines type stuff, right?
I'm not sure, because again, like this started in like 2002, and I wasn't reading headlines in 2002, and nor did I want to try to look up headlines from 2002, because it just
totally legitimate.
Yeah, right. Like I don't want to read that kind of shit. But overall, Vincent D'Onofrio does an excellent job as playing this detective who's a little eccentric, but also is highly intelligent in a multitude of things. What bothers me at times is we watched an episode recently about it was all had to do with the art world, and he kind of came off and like knew all of these terms about art, I assume, because I don't know the technical terms of art. But my thing is, how does this one person actually know like all of these things? Is this even feasible?
Like Alex Trebek.
Yeah, essentially, right? Except without a sexy mustache.
You think Alex Trebek has a teleprompter following him all the time just so he can have all of those answers all at once?
So he just lives in the world knowing everything, or just on the show?
Are you
Both, maybe?
creating a world like like being John Malkovich, but it's just being Alex Trebek?
Yes. I'm gonna make that movie.
Holy shit. Of all the movies you're gonna make, you want to make that movie though?
I mean, I can't control what pops in my head. I just run with it. Sometimes it's a bad thing. Sometimes it's stupid. Sometimes you get gold like being Alex Trebek.
I wasn't claiming either of those. I've said of all the great ideas you've had, you want to make and create being Alex Trebek.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to cash in on that goodwill.
I don't disagree. I would watch that.
You can get Ken Jennings. Is that the guy who won all the money? That's like the only time you'll ever know a Jeopardy contestant is Ken Jennings.
Okay, so here's my theory. So we're gonna go down a fucking rabbit hole here.
Here we go.
My theory behind, and just love on it. My theory behind that is Alex Trebek secretly hated Ken Jennings. And by secretly hated, I feel like there was some very romance tension between the two of them when he would give an answer and give off there. So there's just like the secret hate but love. And so if you're going to create this and you're going to bring in Ken Jennings, you have to portray this onto the big screen, obviously.
So are you turning it into like I Love You, Philip Morris? That weirdly obscure Ewan McGregor, Jim Carrey movie?
I'd never seen it.
Well, it's essentially what you're describing.
Then okay, yes, do that.
But good, right?
Yes, obviously.
Okay.
Can you regale me with what happened with Ken Jennings and Alex Trebek? I feel like I don't know what you're talking about.
Ken Jennings, I don't know the great lore, but Ken Jennings like won
all the money.
All the money, like a record amount of money, and was on like every week and stuff like that, and was just getting answers left and right, boom, 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 like I guess like millions and millions of dollars. And it got to the point where I think I caught like some clips where Alex Trebek was like giving him some that like evil stank eye, like, you motherfucker, you're cheating. I know you're cheating.
How are you still here?
How are you still here?
I'm sorry, Robin. I stepped over you.
No, you're fine. I don't even know what I said.
That's okay.
Keep on.
But he was giving him that side eye, but it kind of got a hint of like, you may be cheating, but I want to know more about you, sir.
Like bedroom eyes from across the stage?
For sure. Like love-hate bedroom eyes.
I mean, I could accept that.
Thank you, John, because that's always my standard.
I mean,
will John accept this romantic notion that I'm painting between these two semi-famous people?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
I will always accept it.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets us something interesting, I suppose. Why not?
Yes. So to land the plane, sorry, I derailed this. Law & Order Criminal Intent. As far as the first season going, it's going pretty well. I'm enjoying it. It's a nice kind of throwback. It's a nice, like, oh yeah, some just semi-drama for 30 to 40 minutes at a take. Not bad.
I'll take it.
So that's what I've been watching. Anyone else want to contribute to things we have physically viewed?
I just saw Train to Busan last night.
Oh my God.
I slept on that for so long. My God.
That movie is amazing.
It really, really is. And I've heard that forever and just been like, oh, subtitles. But the thing about subtitles is you can't look away.
Yeah.
So you're really engrossed, which is good, but it never sounds like it's gonna be good.
No.
No, but it was incredible. I think that like their interpretation of what a virus would look like is the most realistic that I've seen.
So what is the elevator pitch? You mentioned a virus, because I don't think I've heard of this.
Oh, it's a zombie movie.
Oh,
it's a zombie movie on a train in Korea.
Yeah, it's Korean. Yeah, it's like the first Korean zombie movie. It entirely takes place on a train that is in motion for the majority of the movie.
There's like stops and here and there, but it's primarily all the action takes place on the train, and it's the family. You follow like two families who are just trying to get through this. While it immediately happens, they try to figure out what they can do. They have to get to Busan, which is like the safe haven, and
or maybe they're not really even sure.
Yeah, all they know is they have to go to Busan. Whether Busan is safe or not is going to depend on what happens when they get there.
So I'm assuming like these families have to defend themselves, kill zombies, etc.
Oh yeah, they punch these fuckers in the face
while having to move through train cars.
Yeah,
well, that's fucking intense.
It's amazing.
At one point, does one of the family members look to the other family and say "no ticket" as they're like kill the zombie?
Unfortunately, I don't think that the ticket system is how the train works in Korea, based on what happened to Train to Busan.
Damn.
Yeah.
I wish that they had.
Because my logic on international things is always on Indiana Jones. Obviously, that's how I base all international diplomacy.
Clearly.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if more people did that, I think we'd have a little less problems.
Yep.
It's a simple philosophy.
Maybe.
But I'm not 100% wrong, though.
Because is Indiana Jones truly a good guy? Truly a good guy?
Well, it depends on which movie.
Does it? Because
yes.
I could make the argument that he's sitting there grave robbing and, sacred places.
That's why everyone wants to turn Short Round into a reverse Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but even if that does happen, Short Round would still be grave robbing and pillaging these sacred burial places.
Or he's taking it from the museums to take back.
Oh.
That's what I mean by reverse Indiana Jones.
But then, what is he doing when he's taking them back to the sacred remains? He's just putting them there, or are they preserved there in some way?
I would imagine preserved there in some way.
Oh, I imagine drive by, like just throwing like the sacred bronze monkey or something.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
For whatever reason, because I know that like a lot of the civilizations and like the things that you find are underground, I imagine him like digging a hole and burying it. And now
that's the whole movie. That's like an hour. It's just him digging a fucking hole. He's just like, yep, this fucking sucks.
Should have left it in the museum. He said it belonged there. I didn't agree, but yeah, that's water under the bridge now.
Like an actual real life depiction of what archaeology is or reverse archaeology is, and just make it like a dry comedy that way, and I would just be totally in. I'd be all for
Wes Anderson style. Let's do it.
I would pay money to see what a Wes Anderson Indiana Jones would look like. I don't know if it would be good.
I feel like it would look exactly like everything else he's ever done because it all looks the same.
Yeah, no, you're right.
There would be a lot of panning back and forth from the hole.
Mm-hmm.
Like a slow pan, just
a lot of witty, dry repartee, and that's about it. And then more panning.
Pretty
and
much.
Sets, a lot of sets.
You talk a lot of shit, but I love Wes Anderson, actually.
Did you say a lot of sex?
Sets.
What?
Sets. Oh, a lot of sets. I was like, wait, John, whoa, what movie are we talking about now?
No, I don't think Wes Anderson is that spicy.
Oh, I thought you were talking about your synopsis for Indiana Bones.
No, that was a past life in 1984. I was desperate for the money.
That's okay. $20 is $20, man. Like, we get it. No judgment.
I just remember that one time you got into like a, what was it, a rap battle where you guys just riffing?
Oh,
when we went
God. Oh, God, yes, in Los Angeles.
Oh my God, Babylon.
Yes.
Oh my God. I haven't thought about that in 10 years.
I haven't really. It just popped into my head.
For those of the uninitiated, because sometimes I forget we're doing a podcast that people listen to. Just with this, by the way. John, Robin, and I, and a lot of other folks went to Los Angeles to go see Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman do one of their podcasts. They're still doing it. It's called Hollywood Babylon. And back then we were really into it. And in one of the shows, because I was young, dumb, and full of cum, I decided to get into a rap battle with Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman.
Yeah, they were doing some kind of.
It was
They were
riffs on
riffing with
Tom
each other,
Cruise.
and then
Yeah, they were doing Tom Cruise.
Yes.
They were doing like a couple stanzas of a rap, but it had to include a Tom Cruise movie, from what I remember.
And it like involved the plot, like barely of whatever respective movie that they used.
Yeah, and somehow I was dumb and jumped and was like, I can't remember for what movie it was. I think it was Risky Business.
It was.
Yeah.
I
I
don't recorded anywhere. Can I hear that again?
I had it saved somewhere. I'm gonna have to find it, but I remember your rap, Anthony.
Yes, I remember it was recorded. And
no, I remembered what you said. Like I can quote it right now.
I think it had something to do with anal sex.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
That's about right.
You put it in the book that that's a risky business.
Oh, I trampled that. I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's too late. The moment's passed. You've ruined your bad anal joke from 10 years ago.
Oh, Wes Anderson. Yeah, Rushmore. Okay. Sorry. When you guys were having that conversation, I forgot who this fine person was, and so I had to IMDb him during this segment about this rap battle. And yeah, Rushmore.
Speaking of things that I've never seen, I have never seen Rushmore.
Me neither.
Really?
I have seen it, but I don't recall where I saw it or a lot of the plot. I just remember, what's that the actor's name? Gosh, well, since I'm here,
wait, isn't both of the Wilsons
Jason
in that?
Schwartzman. I remember Jason Schwartzman was in there,
Love Jason.
and a very young Olivia Williams, who I've seen in something else.
Olivia Williams.
I'm sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole of IMDb. Obviously,
You're fine.
I mean, I do. That's literally my everyday. Because like I see somebody on the screen, it's like I've seen that guy before. I got to look it up.
And that's why you're the human IMDb, John. Because you not only do you look it up, but you retain the information, which is crucial.
I don't retain it all. It comes in spurts. Like sometimes some things will pop up and some things will pop back in.
It's extremely relatable.
Yeah.
Well, John, you have forgotten more things than I can ever read and or recall. So.
Oh, that's not true.
He's forgotten the things that you can't remember.
Yes.
Pretty much. That's his argument. I don't agree with it, but okay. I'll let him have it.
All right, John, land this fucking plane. Where are we going?
Land this fucking plane. Two things I'd like to talk about. Anthony, upon your recommendation, plus we were already watching it, we finished Umbrella Academy.
Hey!
And you were right about the soundtrack. That shit fucking rocks. Robin, have you seen Umbrella Academy?
I'm just going to stay silent.
You don't like it? I take it?
I hate it. I hate it.
Okay.
That's okay. Sorry.
No, I like the soundtrack in the second season.
Yeah, I mean, I get really frustrated with the show because, like the interpersonal, politics of that family just kind of drive me up the wall sometimes. It's just like, y'all need to just sit down, hash it out, and then everything will be fine for the most part. Because it's just a lot of yelling at each other and, telling people, hey, we need to do this because we have to do this. But I will say that the kid who plays Five, honestly, that kid is going to go places after this show because he's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah, I give him props for it, man.
Yeah, I mean, he plays. I mean, he's only I had to look it up. He's only 16, playing a 58-year-old man. It feels convincing. But if my one, we had to finish the first season because we were 3 episodes away from finishing it, and then we jumped through season 2 over the span of the weekend. And the one thing I would say that season 2 improves on is that I think it's better paced, and I think that whole countdown of that show to the big finale event that they have to deal with helps propel things forward. I think with any Netflix show, it's just a little too long. I don't think they've ever figured out the right amount of episode pace between they go from 13 or whatever and 10, and it's just I always prefer things to be tighter. You get less time to work with characters. Anthony, don't you even dare. I see your face. I see your face. Don't even do it. Don't even do it. Don't even think it. Just stop it. Just stop it. Tell him to stop it, Robin.
Creepy uncle face.
Now I have sad, creepy uncle
I stopped
face.
it.
In the best way possible.
But Robin, I can feel you seething as John is talking about this.
Please give us the contrary opinion. We are here for.
I am seething because now I'm getting jealous and I feel like I should try it again. I don't even know what it was. It was just something about it felt like weird and artificial, and it made me feel uncomfortable. Honestly, the storyline sounds really interesting. I am intrigued by the family. I don't know. I just didn't. It wasn't the right vibe.
That's fair. Because like John was mentioning, a lot of the tension in the family is just toxic, and the relationship between the family members, especially to their father, is just fucking toxic. And then especially towards the end of the first season, I don't want to spoil it, but what they do to one of their family members at the end of the first season, essentially locking her up for having these powers that she doesn't know how to control, because she was told from a young early age by her father that she was nothing, didn't have any powers, wasn't special. And then they lock her up because she is trying to control them, but she can't. And so they lock her up and throw away the key. And I didn't appreciate the fuck out of that. And they don't really deal with it in the next season, because in the next season, when they jump back in time, they kind of do, John. I saw you.
Yeah, they do.
Looking, but it's not to the point, because all of a sudden it's, I have amnesia. And it's like,
yeah, that's
so let's just roll over the red carpet on all this fucking abuse to this character because she has amnesia. Like, that's fucking great.
Yeah.
Wait, so I'm confused. Do they keep Ellen Page in there in the next season?
So
no.
They get transferred back in time to the year in the 1960s, which is why it has a rockin' soundtrack for the second season. And Ellen Page, because of this transfer, and she was like midst of using her powers to destroy the world when this happened, when the time transfer happened. There was like her powers versus the time travel powers of her brother Five, kind of like fritzed her brain a little bit.
Yes and no. I mean, the whole conceit of that first season is trying to stop the apocalypse. And they find out who the cause of it is, which is
Ellen
essentially,
Page.
and all of them, because of their actions and not treating her with compassion and just treating her like a bomb. They don't give her the tools she needs to work through their collective trauma, and she ends up just being a giant beacon of energy that threatens to destroy everything. And because they're idiots, they don't try to talk to her. They just try to be aggressive about it. And to Anthony's point, yes, it's kind of bad that, they don't really talk about it, but the whole conceit of what happens is that the apocalypse starts. They have no Five decides we have to go back in time to fix this, so we're going to go back decades.
We have to go back to the future,
but through the past. So because he overestimated himself, he dumps them all across like 3 years. Vanya gets hit by a car and loses her memory. So when they do find each other again and they confront the fact, oh
my God,
I was a piece of shit to you and I should have done things differently, it's essentially meaningless because it's not the Vanya he was originally trying to hurt.
Right.
I just had a fucking Jimmy Neutron brain blast here. Essentially what happens to Vanya, Ellen Page, is the same fucking thing that happens in the plot of Back to the Future 1.
Oh my God.
Wait.
Yes. So Marty gets hit with the car, and then like the mother falls in love with him. His mother falls in love with him.
Yeah, but she didn't get hit by her own mother.
She didn't get hit by her own mother, but she got hit by this lovely lady, and they
got hit by a mother.
But by a mother, and they start to, over the series, develop this romantic relationship.
Like, she's actually out in this show?
Yes, which is much better.
Yeah,
I gotta try.
Yeah. Like, instead of like, hey, let's force heterosexual onto her. Like in the first season, I was like, that just doesn't feel right. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But but it's the same thing. Like she hits her with the car, she takes him home to her house and like nurtures her, and eventually they have a
romance begins.
But except the wife that hit her is with the car is married, and then there's this whole anyway.
Yeah, it's a lot more drama filled than Back to the Future in
Yeah,
some.
sorry, I had a brain blast as soon as saying that.
That's okay.
That's why I had this brain orgy as soon as you were talking about something very sophisticated.
No, I get it.
What happens when you get distracted? That's awesome.
It's a gift, and that's why we do this podcast.
Curse. And a curse. This is cursed. That is cursed.
Are you turning into Tobey Maguire Spider-Man again?
No, I was turning. That was a callback to The Mummy. Remember when he's like, "Oh, everything you think is cursed. This is cursed. That is cursed."
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Oh, you need to rewatch it.
I know.
Watch it.
I love that movie. Umbrella Academy's. Wait, what?
Your attempt to land it, you're like, but yeah, fuck off. Anyway.
Isn't that how it usually goes with us, Anthony?
Yes, always.
Come on.
As always.
You should just lead with fuck off. Like, just make it the standard. Okay, fuck off.
I think we just might have found the episode title.
Fuck off.
No, you should just lead with fuck off. So I have a little bit of frustration with Umbrella Academy just because if you look at it between the two, they don't, there's some things that they kind of weirdly handle. Vanya and the relationship between the others is the chief example, but I think they do try to dig into what's wrong with these people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see where a third season goes, and it's a hell of a cliffhanger, considering that time travel shenanigans never end well, and you can imagine what that means for a cliffhanger.
Must hold on. And that's why they call him Cliffhanger. John, this is a callback to our last podcast.
Oh.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah, remember?
That PBS thing that Anthony knows that I don't. That he needs to send me.
Oh, that's right. I do have to do that. It was a callback to make you laugh and trip you up to our previous podcast when we went on that particular rant.
You tripped me up. I mean, I'm sorry I didn't get the laugh in, but...
That's okay. You just don't appreciate this podcast format. I understand.
We'll talk about this after class.
I was supposed to say that. Guys, talk about this after class.
I stole your moment. I'm sorry. The other thing I just like to bring up. I just finished this morning the Audible adaptation of Neil Gaiman's The Sandman, which is done by a full cast with James McAvoy as Dream, Kat Dennings as Death. Neil Gaiman is narrating the whole thing. Andy Serkis is in this thing.
Whoa!
Yeah, he plays.
You got some names.
Yeah, they did get some names. Michael Sheen is Lucifer.
What?
Yeah. So it's really well done. It's literally the first three collections of Sandman. So for those folks at home that have copies of Sandman, it's like the first volumes 1 through 3 get a pretty much direct adaptation into an audio play.
Now, how is Neil Gaiman? Like, does he actually do a good job narrating, or is he just like, this is mine, so I want to add my own flavor to it? I'm imagining that's what he sounds like. I haven't heard it Audible, so.
Yeah, his voice is a little bit deeper than that. Unfortunately, it's not like the snidely British man that I turned that snake into earlier. Call back.
It was a callback. It was a callback for this podcast.
In this episode with a snake that I hate. He's fine. I mean, I always kind of prefer when writers narrate their own work because they appreciate their own nuances, but sometimes, that's a double-edged sword because they get too possessive over it. But
well, yeah, then it's just a big old ego fucking jerk off.
I think what helps is that, I think he's a producer, but he's not he doesn't adapt and he doesn't direct. It's a guy named Dirk Maggs who did all of that.
Wait, what? Dirk Maggs?
Dirk.
That can't be that guy's real name.
That is that guy's real name. I'm sorry.
No, that can't be.
That is that guy's real name. You're going to have to accept this.
No, that's not.
Named Dirk.
See?
Yeah.
Do you know somebody named Dirk?
No, Dirk is not the problem in this.
What was the problem in it?
It's the fact that it sounds like a knockoff, like 80s TV bad guy character name.
Dirk Mix.
Thank you. See, you get the joke.
Like he shows up in an episode of Magnum P.I.
Yes. Like he's this like eccentric billionaire who's the villain who is like, I don't know, trying to own all the railroads everywhere.
So he's Lex Luthor
Yes.
in 1978 Superman?
Yes, that's exactly what he is. Okay, now John, say his name again, and then
Dirk Maggs.
and think about what we just talked about.
Okay, fine. You have a point. Maybe it's a pen name. I don't know.
Thank you.
I just have the information. I give it to you.
I
No,
can't.
I
Don't
heard
make it
about
dirty.
Lucius Dirk Maggs, though.
Oh, I missed you, Robin.
I missed you guys too.
To bring it back to the plane that needs to get landed or land. I don't know. I talk good, and I have a.
Thank
English
you, John, because I'm getting real tired of you derailing this. Okay.
I mean-
Robin came here as our special guest. Robin wanted order, and look at we're throwing. We're just throwing chaos, and it's your fault, obviously.
Well, I'm an agent.
Robin
of
wanted derailment. I'm here for derailment.
I mean, we did get that when it turned into the Frank Gorshin show.
I love your Frank Gorshin so much. Just tickles me every time.
I know. You're gonna have to wait for after the show for the next
Fine.
taste. I'm sorry.
Okay, fine. Continue your point, John.
So you get to answer your question, Anthony. I don't think Gaiman's necessarily cradling it like it's his baby, which it is. It's honestly more DC's baby at this point because that's a more complicated creator rights ownership question because if you're making something for a corporate conglomerate, you're not really having express ownership. It's them saying, "Oh, we're going to do this. Are you cool with it?" Which is what I think his contract says. So in this case, he's just like, "Yeah, no, we're cool with it."
Yeah, so he's saying
it's going to be
man. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to compare it to whatever this Netflix show that he's involved in is going to be because I know he's got a more heavier hand in that than I believe he did in this Audible adaptation. So, I mean, from what I understand, the Netflix show is going to be more of an update, and the audiobook is more a literal adaptation from what it was back in like the 80s to whenever it finished. But like McAvoy honestly is the highlight of that. You listen to it for him because anytime he speaks, you feel it in your rumblies.
Whoa.
Everything he does makes me feel my rumblies.
I will.
No. John, pause. That's the title of this episode is Feeling It in My Rumblies.
Feeling it in my rumblies. Okay, I'm writing that down. I will send you the file just so you can hear his dulcet tones because boy, McAvoy is going for it, and he's aces. He's honestly like the reason you would listen to this because he's giving a high caliber performance.
Well, John, you know me. I'm always down to get my rumblies tumbled.
I mean, it sounds like your Friday night, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Oh,
the Dice Man's here. Hey.
no, he doesn't have to be here. Let's not.
No. Even though you did the Dice Man thing, I'm sorry.
I know I did, but he's not a good person. Anyway,
Shaming you. I'm shaming you.
shaming me.
Yes.
Andrew Dice Clay is an awful human being.
No, I know, but I'm also shaming you for bringing his existence up here.
Oh, got it.
Don't do the anymore.
Sorry. I apologize. When we invited Robin here, I wasn't expecting her to be our marriage counselor. Really wasn't.
Is that
I
what
suggest you get bunk beds.
Call back. It was a callback. It was a callback. Robin.
I think
I don't know how we can hit higher than that joke that Robin just gave. I think when I'm editing it, I'm going to end it there with like a drum roll and then just an outro.
No, it's gonna
Just a fuck off.
just a fuck off. I got nothing else. Anthony, Robin, do you have anything else you guys want to bring to the table? One last hurrah.
I'm ready to get told to fuck off into the sunset.
Okay. Well, is it that time, Anthony?
I think it is.
That time. It's that time. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to another episode of the Ludic Loungecast. We'd like to thank our special guest, Robin, for joining us after such a long time.
Yay!
We'll definitely have you back if you will be willing to deal with this chaos again.
Robin's like, no, fuck off.
And at that point, I can't talk. At that point, I'd like to say, as I always say, thanks for lounging with us. And fuck off.
Bye?
Hello, this is Arnold Schwarzenegger. You've been listening to the Ludic Loungecast, brought to you by the Ludic Lounge. For more, follow us on Twitter at Ludic Lounge. For Antonicus at RojoLoco44. For John at just_John_0891. Or feel free to email us at theludiclounge@gmail.com. It was nice to see you.